อุตสาหกรรมอาหารสถาบันเทคโนโลยีพระจอมเกล้าเจ้าคุณทหารลาดกระบังเป็นสถาบันอุดมศึกษาชั้นนำด้านวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีของประเทศหลักสูตรระดับปริญญาตรี 3 หลักสูตรสาขาวิชาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีการอาหารสาขาวิชาเทคโนโลยีการหมักในอุตสาหกรรมอาหารสาขาวิชาวิศวกรรมแปรรูปอาหารหลักสูตรระดับปริญญาโท 3 หลักสูตรสาขาวิชาวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารสาขาวิชาเทคโนโลยีการบริการอาหารและการจัดการสาขาวิชาการจัดการความปลอดภัยอาหารหลักสูตรระดับปริญญาเอก 1 หลักสูตรสาขาวิชาวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารหลักสูตรนานาชาติคณะของเราเน้นการพัฒนาผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารนวัตกรรมและโครงงานวิจัยเพื่อนำไปสู่การสร้างเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารที่สามารถแก้ไขปัญหาได้จริงเราจะเป็นสถาบันแนวหน้าที่ผลิตบุคลากรและสร้างนวัตกรรมเพื่อพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมอาหารให้เป็นที่ยอมรับในระดับสากล
Wow, I'm impressed. What a nice video.
Yes, okay. So we will start for now. So welcome everyone to the World Food Series or Food Industry webinar. Is episode 8 already, and today we on the topic of introductions to the world of wine. And today we gonna special guest that's very expert in there. So it's Dr. Guillaume Martins, and he is a enologist, right? And
Yes.
he hold the PhD from University of Bordeaux, France. So you guarantee that it must be good in wine, in wine microbiology and biotechnologies. And he has experience as a winemakers and covers many countries like Portugal, France, and the United States. He is currently the coordinators of the Master in Vineyards and Winery Management at the Institut de Sciences de la Vigne de Vent. I'm not sure it's correct in French.
Yes, it is. Bravo.
Okay, at Bordeaux, France. Currently, he's teaching in the East, focused on the winemaking, and he had corporations in wine consulting for various academic and commercial projects. He also lectured in several locations around the world, and now here in Thailand too, an active participant in promote and development innovations in winemaking research, useful for both students and community at large. So today we have the special guest with the very high experience with us. So don't waste the time. So I would let him on the stage, and don't forget we had the question and answer. So in the sections after this, you can leave the comments or the question in the chat box, or people who watching us via Facebook, you can leave in the chat box too. So we will asking that him after these sections, and we will have the certificates of attendance at the end of the presentation. So please give a big hand to Dr. Guillaume Martins as their introduction to the world of wine. Thank you very much. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Orashon. So today we're going to speak about wine. And for those who don't know the importance of wine, I would like to say that in France and in Italy and in Spain, it's one of the most important agricultural products. Okay, so in my region here in Bordeaux, wine give jobs for thousands of millions of people. Okay, and this is so important agricultural product, grape and wines, and that it's part of our culture. So in Europe, almost everybody drink small portions of wine at the dinner time, because if we drink small portions of wine, it's been proved that it's good for our heart. Okay, so it's culture, it's also healthy, and it's a product that I'm really happy to work with. And today I'm going to share with you my experience and speak about this product. Okay, So I'm going to cover the follow topics. I'm going to start with the definition, what is wine, then a little bit about the history of wine and how is the wine sector organizing today, which are the countries who producing wine, which are the ones who consume. And then I want to speak about how to make wine, the principles of the wine making, and also the wine tasting, okay? Tasting wine, the sensory analysis, okay, is pretty much the same either for wine, either for other products, for food products. And I'm sure that in your department of food industry, you do have some lectures about sensory analysis, okay? It's very important for people who work in the food industry to know how to taste, okay? All right, so starting with the definition of wine, okay? So according with the OIV, it's the International Organization of Wine and Wine. It's like organization who established the rules of the winemaking. According with this organization, which France and a lot of countries are part of, the wine is a beverage resulting from the alcoholic fermentation of grapes, okay, grape berries. So there are some countries who also ferment another fruits and they call it wine, okay? But in the countries of the OIV, wine is only from grapes, okay? So what I'm going to speak about today, it's wine from grapes. So, but what is inside the bottle of wine, okay? So if you analyze chemically what consists in the bottle of wine, it's mainly water because the grapes are full of water like all the fruits, okay? Then you have also alcohol, you might have some sugar, minerals, some polyphenols. These polyphenols, they are good for the health. And then there is a small fraction of the wine that in fact gives the aromas and the taste and the color, but it's only a tiny part, okay? It's like the perfumes. The perfumes are almost all water and alcohol. Only a small fraction are the aromas, okay? So that's why it's also so difficult to make wine, and it's at the same time it's very stimulating to work in the wine industry and to make wine, okay? So the wine aromas, they are mainly esters, alcohol, some aldehydes, okay? They are always changing. Some aromas came from the grapes, another from the fermentation, and another from the aging, okay? So the wine aromas and taste is always changing with the time, okay? That's why some wines, they should be drink young, like after 1 year, and in others you can keep it for 10, 20, 30 or more years, okay? So this is what I'll speak about, the wine from grapes, okay? And this wine from grapes, it exists since long time ago, okay? So we have evidence that the winemaking starts in the Caucasus region. Okay, Caucasus region is between Georgia and Azerbaijan. Okay, between the Black and the Caspian Sea. Okay, so they found out some traces of a winery in Armenia that they were dating from 4,000 years before Christ. And then they even found out more ancient traces of winemaking in the Republic of Georgia, okay? And this evidence, they took us back to 60,000 before Christ. That means that at least for 8,000 years, man, the humankind, are making wine, okay? And it's a very, very old drink, and it followed the humankind during this process of civilization, okay? So, and how the wine spread almost to all over the world, but mainly in Europe. In fact, there were 3 big civilizations, Asian civilizations, that they use wine as base of the wine, as a basis of the food. They were using wine like every day, okay? It was the Greeks, the Persians, and the Egyptians, okay? These three big, these civilizations, they were big and they conquer big, large territories, okay? And wherever they were settling, they were bringing wine with them, okay? So, if I make a focus on the Greek civilization and the wine, I would like to tell you that it was so important for the Greeks, the wine, that they even have a god dedicated to the honor of wine. Dionysius, okay, is the god of wine in ancient Greek, okay? So with Alexander the Great, they conquered a huge territory, okay, from Italy until India. And wherever they were going, they were producing grapes and making wine, okay? So after this big empire, the Greeks, came the Romans, okay? And the Romans, they in fact copy almost all habits of the Greeks, and they increase the cultivation because they conquer the west part of Europe. So now you have vineyards in the west, in the Orient, near Asia, and then also you have in the west, in the Atlantic coast, and in the North Africa. So the vineyards spread all over thanks to the Greeks and the Romans, okay? And the Romans, they have also a god for the wine, like the Greeks. They call it Bacchus. And you can see here in this image in the right part of the screen, a portrait of Bacchus god, okay? So the wine in Europe and the Middle East and also in the Africa, it continues to grow mainly because of the church, okay? So, and I'm going to explain you why. The Roman Empire, in one moment, they adopt the Christianity like official religion. And in the Christian religion, in our celebration, we use wine as a symbol of the blood of Jesus, okay? So wherever there was some monasteries, the monks, they were producing wines. And like this, during all Middle Ages and medieval period, there was always a production of wine, okay? That was true in the West, in the Catholics, and also in the Oriental part, like in Greece, in Russia, and in the Caucasus. You can see here a photo in my right side, and the up part is a monastery in Greece, and you see a priest that is making the harvest, and another photo downstairs that is in the Republic of Georgia. When I visit a monastery, it's myself and another priest that is also priest and winemaker. So you can see how important it is. It was the religion to keep this culture of wine. All right. So, but the wine was something from Eurasia and North Africa. America didn't have wine, vineyards. They didn't produce grapes. It was only after when the travels from Spain and Portugal, they conquered the territories in America, like Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Argentina. These European people, they bring with them the first plants of vineyards, and they're starting to produce there. So today, countries like Argentina, Chile, United States are big wine producers, okay? But it all starts a long time ago. But if we go to the other side of the world, for example, Japan, which is also a producer of wine, the wine arrived there with Portuguese Jesuits. Jesuits are priests, okay? So they introduce the vineyard in Japan, okay? Today there is a Japanese variety called Koshu grape, and it's an hybrid from East Asian vineyard with the European species. Okay, they are very good grapes. They make good wine, but also you can use it as table grapes. Okay. So the industry of wine get globalized. Okay? From all over the world, almost you could find wine. And in the northern area, there were some moments that in some countries there were some changes and some episodes that affect the industry. For example, the prohibition in USA. What is the prohibition? For those who don't know, it was a moment in the United States that alcohol beverage, they were not allowed to be sold outside the house. Okay, of course, this is have an impact in the wine industry, and there is a Netflix serial about the prohibition, about this period, so you can see how it was. Okay. And then more recently, there was also an episode very important in the wine industry. So, and in fact, there is also a movie about this. The name of the movie is The Judgment of Paris. Okay. So what happened, in fact, is that people, the consumer, thought that only France have good wines, that the wine from America, from United States, it was not good. And that was a very weird sensation, but it was the public that have this feeling that the wine from America is not good. So a guy called Steven Spurrier, you see the photo there, he organized a blind tasting, okay, with American wine and French wine. And he asked for the producers and for the winemakers to come and taste your wines in a blind test and give marks. It happened that the American wines, they have very good marks. Some of them even better than the wine of France. And then gives a message to the consumers that they understand that not only in the traditional countries of winemaking you can make good wines. You can make in the United States and all over the world, inclusive in Thailand. Okay, I give you this example of Grand Mont State. So the industry have also a very important boost in the 80s when China economies opened to the world. So it was possible to deal with China and to export to China, and then they really appreciate wine, and that makes the industry goes a lot. Okay. So the wine industry is very influenced by some opinion makers, are people who are very famous for the comments, and when they give good comments, the wine will sell very fast. Okay, this gentleman there, Robert Parker, it was a lawyer and a wine lover who was writing wine criticals about the wine that he was tasting. So every time he was writing something good, everybody was going and buying. Okay, so he got a big wine influencer, and today he's tasting wine, his team, etc. And to show you how important this industry is and how much money can involve, here an example of how much money people are ready to put in a bottle. Okay, that was a bottle sold in the auctions. Okay, in 2010, a bottle of a wine from here, Bordeaux, Lafite Rothschild from 1869. So maybe the wine inside was already not good, but people pay for that $230,000. Okay, so it's really incredible. All right, that's what I would like to say about the history. So it makes part of humankind since long time ago. It spread all over Europe and then get globalized in Americas and Asia, and today is a product that is recognized all over the world, and the industry, the wine industry, is very important, not only in France but also in other countries. Okay, so if you see the numbers of the wine or the grape producers, you can see here in this graphic that almost 50% of the world vineyards belong to 5 countries: France, Italy, Spain, then China, in Turkey. Okay, what happened is that in China, in Turkey, mainly of these grape varieties, they are not to make wine, but they are to be sold as a fresh fruit. Okay. So, but this is the global production of grapes, not wine. Okay. If we see here in this graphic, this is the major producers of grape according with the type of grape. Okay. So if you see the red color, mean that these grapes are for wine. In green color, it's table grapes. When you say table grapes, it's grapes that we eat as fresh fruits. So as you can see, China produces a lot, have a big circle, but it's almost all table grapes. Okay. France is the opposite. It's almost all wine grape. Okay. But you can see these big producers, US, Spain, France, Argentina, South Africa, Australia. This are mainly wine grapes, okay? And in terms of wine producers, you see the big three producers in the world, okay? Which are Italy, the first biggest producer, then France, and then Spain, okay? And that they are also countries that export a lot of wine. You can easily find Italian and French wine in Bangkok or in Thailand. I already see there. Okay. So they have a big production and they do have to export. Okay. And the wine, the industry of wine is going good because the consumption are increasing if you compare to the last 20 years in quantity, but also this is very important in add value, okay, in price. So people are okay to pay a little bit more for a good quality of wine, okay. And if you analyze who drinks more in terms of consumption per capita, you can see that there are countries like France or Portugal, which the consumption per capita, it's around 40 liters per year, which is a lot, okay. United States, for example, it's 10 liters per capita. But because they are a big country with a lot of population, they are the biggest wine consumers in terms of country. Okay. So see this graphic here. What shows in this graphic is the evolution of the international trade of wine by volume in blue and in yellow by money. What does that mean? That the wine is being traded in more volume and with a higher price, which is good for people who work in this business. Voila, what I would like to say about the wine sector. So you see which are the bigger producers, and you see how the trends of production and exporting are going. And now I'm going to speak about the winemaking principles. Okay, how we make wine. Well, the wine, as I told you, is the product of the fermentation, okay, of the alcoholic fermentation of grapes. But there are, it's in fact a very complex microbiological process, okay? So once you crush your grapes, you're gonna have a liquid with the skins, and then the fermentation will start, okay? You have the alcoholic fermentation first, done by yeasts. So you know what is the yeast? It's a microorganism, okay, like it's a fungi. And what it's gonna do? It's gonna take the sugar and transform it in ethanol, okay? This can last 5 to 15 days, okay? Here you see in the image that's a tank with red grapes fermenting, okay? So after this alcoholic fermentation, sometimes we can have also another fermentation called malolactic fermentation. And this malolactic fermentation is made by bacteria, lactic acid bacteria, the same who ferment the yogurt, for example, okay? And for the alcoholic fermentation, the yeast that ferments, it's normally a Saccharomyces species, and Saccharomyces species are the same that we use to ferment the bread. Okay, so what we see in this graphic in blue, alcoholic fermentation and malolactic fermentation, and you see in green the sugar is decreasing because the yeasts are growing and are metabolizing the sugar, and then they are producing ethanol. Okay, all right. So during the process, you have to control the fermentation of the sugar. And when you see all the sugars are fermented, the density is low, okay? Then you're gonna press your grapes and you're gonna age your must, okay, your wine, okay? So when we make white wine or rosé wine, we're gonna press the grapes before it ferment. So we're gonna ferment only the free range juice, okay? Only the juice. Otherwise, they're gonna get the color, okay? Because the color pigments are in the skin, and if you ferment and if you macerate with the skin, even if it's white varieties, you're gonna have like an orange wine, okay? So white wine, we press it, then we take the liquid and we ferment it. The red, no. The red, we fermented with the skins because you want to have color, and the color is in the skins, okay? This is the principles of the winemaking, because we don't have a lot of time to go in the details. I'll send you my slides so then you can read them, and if you have other questions, we can speak about this, okay? So, excuse me. Now that we saw the principles, let's speak about tasting, wine tasting. It's very important for you that you study food science, because you need to be a good tasters when you work in the food industry, okay? And tasting wine and tasting other agriculture, other food products, in the way it's very similar, okay? So, as I told you, wines, they exist in different styles according with the aroma, okay? And when we speak about aroma, normally we speak about the smell. And then we have the taste, okay? But if you put the both together, aroma and taste, you can use the word flavor, wine flavor, okay? But in fact, this word in English, flavor, it's tricky, okay? Because in food chemistry, flavor, it's to refer the aroma, okay? But we can say in the wine industry, normally say wine flavor is both the aroma and the taste, okay? So wine tasting could be defined, okay, as this definition, that this is a former professor of my faculty, Ribéron Gaillon, which is a very important scientist. And he said that wine tasting is appreciate the quality of wine, submitting it to the sense of smell, taste, etc. Okay, and then trying to put these sensations in words. Okay, this is very difficult because sometimes we're feeling something, but we don't know how to express ourselves. Okay, and so the wine flavor, the taste, and the smell, it's a complex context, okay? It's not only the smell and taste, but also it's a combination of the touch, of the sight, what we see, the color, etc., okay? So it's a complex combination of the olfacustatory and trigeminal sensations, okay? Like all kind of food, okay? So, when you taste a wine, or other food, there is a lot of factors that will affect your perception, okay? I'm going to tell you some of them. First, the size and shape of the glass, okay? If you taste a wine in a plastic glass or in a really glass, in a different shape, you're going to have different perception of the wine, okay? The temperature is very important. because it's going to change completely the taste and the perception. Not only the temperature of the wine itself, but the temperature of the environment or the tasting room where you are. If it's too hot, it's going to be very difficult for you to be concentrated. And if it's going to be too cold, you're going to also feel uncomfortable. And because this is a mental, physical process, you need to be very, very concentrated. Okay, so you have to train yourself and to get the ability of tasting, and also physiology. Some people, they have a very good nose and a very good mouth to taste. Either they don't have this capacity. Okay, and it's also going to depend of your psychological condition. If you are tired, you don't going to taste well. If you have very attentive, if you have not in the mood, so your disposition, your mental psychological condition will impact greatly your perception of the flavor of the wine, as well as other foods. So when you taste wine, okay, you should avoid to be physically or mentally tired. One of the best moments during the day to taste wine is at the end of the morning, because at the end of the morning you're still very fresh and you're starting to get some hungry, some will to eat, and your pupils and your senses are very open to the flavors. Okay, so when you taste a lot of samples, be sure that you spit, because there's alcohol there. If you drink too much, then you're going to be tired. Okay, take some break, make some pausing periods, go outside, take some fresh air, and then return again. Okay, because if you smell a large number of wines or other products, you're going to get a saturation in your olfaction. Okay, and this saturation, it's due for a phenomenon that we call the sensory adaptation. It's the self-adjustment to a constant level of stimulus. And I'm going to give you an example that everybody already experiment. If you go to a place, for example, a classroom, when you went first in the classroom, you see there's a particular smell. Okay, it could be the smell of books, it could be the smell of the furniture, but after 10 or 15 minutes to be in the classroom, you don't feel nothing, that smell anymore. Okay, because you are so exposed to this smell that then your stimulus adjusts. But if you go outside to take a break and then after half an hour you come again, smell again the classroom. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so now let's speak a little bit about the physiology of our sense. Okay, and starting for the taste, not the smell, we're going to start for the taste. Okay, so taste is a sensation produced when a substance in a food or a liquid, okay, will interact in the mouth, in your tongue, with what we call the tasting buds. Okay, the tasting buds, then they're going to receive this molecule and they're going to send a message to your brain telling this is good, this is not good, this is salty, this is sugar, etc. Okay, so these buds, they are all over in your tongue. They have different shapes. Okay, and they are spread all over the tongue. Okay, we call this all these buds the papilla. Okay, so what happened is that your papilla gonna receive a signal, send a message to your gustatory cortex in your brain that will process, and then it's gonna tell it yes, it's good or not, etc. Okay, so the olfactory cortex in your brain, it's in fact the part of your brain that will process this sensory information. Okay, so that's why that sometimes people have a car crash or a brain damage, they lost the sense of taste and smell because they damaged the gustatory cortex. Okay, so when we speak about taste in food science or in winemaking, we can distinguish 5: the sweet, salty, acid, the bitter, and the umami. Okay, so these are the tastes that your papillas, that your buds will recognize. Okay, sometimes in the wine vocabulary we use other terms like tannic, alcohol body, but these are not scientific terms. Okay, so sweet. Okay, a wine could be sweet or a wine could be dry without sugar. Okay, but in fact the grapes, they are full of sugars. Okay, the sugars, they are made in the leaves by photosynthesis and then sent to the berries. Okay, glucose and fructose. There is also some polysaccharides that give the sensation of sweetness. The alcohol itself gives this sensation, although it's not a sugar, it can give the sensation of sweetness. Okay, so the sweet taste in wine. And now let's see the salty taste of the wine. Is it possible a wine to be salty? It's very, very rare, but sometimes you can have some sensation of salinity. Okay, because there are some anions and cations like potassium, calcium, etc. This is very hard to happen, but it may happen. Okay, but of course the levels they are not bad for the health because they are very, very tiny. Okay, now something very important is the acidity. Wine is an acid product. Okay, have the pH around between 3 and 4. Okay, there are 3 primary acids found in grapes that in fact are found all over in a lot of fruits. Okay, is the tartaric acid, the malic acid, and the citric acid. Okay, there are others like the lactic, but these are the main. Okay, and in fact the sensation of acidity it's present in the wine. Okay, if the wine is sweet, you're going to feel it less. Okay, but if the wine, it's not sweet, doesn't have sugar, it's dry. When you say dry, it means it doesn't have sugar, then you're going to feel more the acidity. Okay, so the sweetness can decrease the sensation of acidity. An example is the Coca-Cola and the lemon juice. Okay, so everybody already drink Coca-Cola and everybody already drink the raw lemon juice, and if you taste both, you're going to think, whoa, the lemon juice, it's much more acid, but in fact they have similar pH. The thing is that the Coca-Cola is full of sugar, so you feel less the acidity. Okay, so this is the pH of several products. Okay, liquid beverage, and you see that the wine is between 3 and 4. Okay, all right. Bitterness. The bitterness. So the wine is also a bitter beverage. Okay, and the major source of bitterness is tannins. Okay, tannins are polyphenolic biomolecules. Okay, that exist in the grapes, in the oak, the barrels that we use. Okay, and in fact they will give this sensation of bitterness. Okay, the tannins also provoke something that we call astringency, but astringency, it's not the taste. Okay, it's a tactical sensation that we have in our tongue when we lost the lubrication. Let me give you an example of what is astringence. So astringence happen when these tannins, they're going to bind with the salivary proteins, with our saliva, and then will precipitate. Then we're going to give a sense of dryness and ruggedness. Okay, this is the image that explain. You see that little blue balls are the polyphenols like tannins, and the pink lines are your protein saliva from the saliva. They're gonna bind, and then you lost the lubrication, you have this sensation, but it's different astringence than bitterness. Okay, all right. And the last taste that you are much more aware of that than the European people is the umami. Okay, the umami, the 50th taste, it was considered a taste not so far ago. Okay, so it's different from sweet, from source, from bitter and salty, and sometimes it's a mix of everybody. Okay, the person who discovered it was this professor Kikunayi Ikeda, and he get it from the he found it that this taste was different from all other tastes, okay? And it could be found in vegetables, in some fermented products like cheese, tofu, okay? And also you have it in the grape sometimes. Australian wine, you can feel it often, this umami, glutamate or glutamic acid that we use a lot in the Asian cuisine, gives easily the sensation of umami, okay? In fact, it was extracted from this algae, kombu used in the Japanese food. All right, this is for the taste, the 5 tastes: sugar, sweet, acid, salty, bitter, and umami. Now let's speak about olfaction. This was the taste, our tongue, and now olfaction, our nose. Okay, so olfaction is this sense of smell that all vertebrate animals like as we have. In fact, why do we smell? It's just a question of evolution, biological evolution, to distinguish a good food from a bad food. Okay, to go and seek where are the good food. That's why we develop this sense of smell. Okay, so like the taste, there's some system that we collect the aromas, okay, and send some neural signals to the brain. Okay, when the odorant molecules bind to specific sites on the receptors on the inside the nose, then the brain will gonna get a signal. Okay, but olfaction in humans, they are very complex. Okay, and each one of you have our individual capacities of smell. It varies a lot from individual to individual, and also it's very personal. Some others could be pleasant for me, and some others are not. Okay, durian, it's a fruit that you know very well. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Some people say, well, it smells very bad, it smells like sulfur, but some others say, no, it smells fruity. Okay, so this is very personal. And olfaction process is related to the memory. Okay, because it's in areas of our brain that are connected to the memory and to the emotions, because we learn the odors when we are small kids. This smells bread, this smells banana, this smells rose, because it's when we are growing and we are putting names on flavors. Okay, and sometimes we go to a place or we are smelling something or a wine, and it reminds us something, but we don't know what, but it reminds me like a situation. Well, this reminds me a fruit or a summer vacations in the summer where I smell some fruit like this. Okay, so this is very related to the memory. Okay, so the process, the mechanisms of olfaction is pretty much like the taste. You have olfactory mucosa inside the nose, in the nasal cavities. Okay, then we're going to collect the aromas, a volatile compound, and send them to your brain. Okay, you can have a direct olfaction, or you can have what we call the retronasal olfaction. If you put a liquid in your mouth, okay, and then you warm it up in your body. Let me show you. This is coffee. I put it in my mouth. I'm going to warm it up, and then from the aromas, you're going to pass the aftertaste, okay, through my mouth directly to the nose, just like this. What I'm doing, I'm just putting water in my mouth and bubbling all. So there are some aromas that will go through the retronasal olfaction. Okay, and when I put wine or a beverage in my mouth, it's going to warm up, because my body temperature is always higher than the liquid. Okay. So I speak already about the self-adjustment of a constant level of stimulus. If you are smelling too much time the same thing, there's a moment that you're going to feel nothing more, because you're going to adapt to this constant stimulus, okay? And you can also get tired. And this is it changed from each one, okay? Everybody have his own self-adjustment. It happens with the sense of smell, but it also happens, for example, with the noise. So people who live in big cities with a lot of noise, they get used to, okay, to a level of constant noise. We call it adaptation, self-adjustment. People who live in a village who are not used to all the noise, when they go to the city, they'll feel, whoa, what is this all this noise? Okay. For the smell is the same. So, as I told you, the sense of smell is very personal. It changes from each individual. Okay. And in fact, you might, a lot of people have some olfactory dysfunctions. Okay. Anosmia is the lack of olfaction. Okay. Is people that cannot perceive an odor. Okay. Like some people cannot hear, some people cannot speak, they're lost in function. So anosmia is the incapacity of feel smells. This could be related to some car crash, or maybe some brain damage, some disease, okay? And then you have the hyposmia. So it's people who have a reduction perception of smell. They do smell things, but they have to be very strong for them to perceive. Then more rare, that is parosmia, is perception of smell that are very different what they're supposed to be. Okay, like for example, when the odor of burn, some people they feel it like flowers. Okay, this is parosmia. And then in a more rare, phantosmia. This is the olfactory hallucination. There are people that are perceiving smells although there is no smell. Okay, this can also happen. So when I spoke about parosmia, perception of smell different what they are supposed to smell like, let me tell you that some people who have COVID, they suffer after COVID of this. Okay, so I know a lot of people that have COVID, and after 1 month they were smelling garbage all over. Okay, they were having a perception of garbage smell. Okay, so by then it passed. All right. So now that we speak about aromas, let's speak about the wine aromas. Okay, and in fact, the origins of the wine aromas, they are three: the grapes, the mass fermentation, and also the aging. Okay, we call it primary or varietal aromas for those of the grapes. The secondary aromas from the fermentation done by yeast and bacteria, and then the tertiary or aging aromas that are gonna come when you let your wine age. Okay, so these are some example of aromas that you can feel as primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, fruity, milky, like oaky, etc. Okay, attention, because sometimes wines can also have some aroma defaults. Okay, some of them are due to excess of oxygen. If you taste a wine that tastes like rotten apple or glue or vegetable or vinegar or soap, this is a default. So wine is not good, and you don't drink it. Ask your money back. Okay, this is our common defaults aromas that are due to the excess of oxygen. Okay, so that's why we should protect the wine from oxygen. And then you might have also some aromas that have nothing to do with the oxygen. Normally they are due because there's a lack of aeration. Okay, for example, smelling sulfur or smelling cabbage, rotten eggs, onion. are something that might happen in the wine, and if you feel it, you don't drink it, you ask your money back. Okay. So let me skip to this. This is so what are the steps in a wine tasting? What I recommend you to do if you want starting to taste and to discover some wine. Okay. So you start with what you see, what color it is, okay? What do you smell? What do you taste, and what do you think about it? You like it or not? And then try to put it on words. Ah, it smells like this. It tastes like this, okay? So, and then to help you to put some words on that, there are some charts that help you to find some words, okay? The color of wine, in fact, is gonna depend of the age and of the variety. Okay, if you have like a very deep ruby color, normal, it's a young, full body wine. Okay, with the age, it becomes to be more light, more orange-like. Okay, and the white ones is the opposite. You start with a very light color, and then with the time, it's gonna get more yellow, more gold. Okay, so there is a several color shades in a wine, and white, red, and rosé. These are some examples, okay, of terms, of words that we use to describe the color, but it's also very personal. Okay, and the smell. Also, we can divide the different aromas in families. Okay, the spicy, the fruity, the oaky, and this is some examples of words that we use to describe. Okay, so what we can do is smell the wine before shaking, before swirling, and then swirling and feel it again, because when you do this gest, we agitate the wine, we're gonna let some molecules to evaporated. Okay, so try to understand how intense is the wine, and also try to identify some smells. Okay, so is this smell like cherry, or like nectarine, or apple? Is this salty? Is this acid? Is this sweet? Okay, so this is our also some questions that you might ask yourself when you are tasting. So what kind of flavor, how tannic, how long it tastes after mouth, etc. Okay, all right. So, and now that I spoke about the wine itself as a product, how to make it, how to feel it, I would like to tell you that the wine exists all over the world, but mainly in the regions that they are between 30 and 50 north in latitude and 30-50 south. Okay, so you see these two wine belts. Okay, so in fact, the wine exists there because in these regions you have winter and summer. Okay, and this is more easy when there are winter and summer, because when this winter, the grape is going to rest, going to get in a dormance, and then it will wake up again in the spring to produce the leaves and the grapes. Okay, in tropical places where it's not enough cold, the vineyard will never stop to produce. It's a little bit more complicated, but it exists. Okay, it's possible to make good wines in tropical conditions, and the proof is Thailand. Okay, so all these different regions, they have some specificities. They are different. The wine from US is different from wine from France, is different from wine from Thailand, is different from wine from Brazil, and all these differences, all these particularities of these countries, we call it terroir. Okay, terroir is a French word, but it's used all over, and in fact is a concept that is in fact a little bit controversial. What does that mean? But anyway, what I have to skip it because I'm running out of the time. What I would like to tell is terroir, in fact, could be defined as this: is the sensory attributes of the wine to the environmental condition which the grapes are grown. That means that the French wine have a typical or a Bordeaux wine have a typical taste, because in Bordeaux there are some specific conditions and give this typicity. Okay, if you taste a wine from Spain, it will have a different taste because the conditions in Spain are quite different. Okay, so the factors are involved in this terroir concept are the climate, the soil, the human practices, the species, and all these they're gonna interact. Okay, and France is a very important wine country because in fact they have a lot of different terroir, a lot of different variability. Here you have the 11 major wine growing regions: Bordeaux, Loire, Languedoc, Bourgogne, etc. So all these regions, they are very different. And that's why it gives a variety of style. Okay, and these styles, they are due because the climate, the geology, the topography, it's different in all these countries. Okay, that's why the French wine industry is so strong, because they produce a lot of wines and very different with a high quality. They have a very good terroir to make wine. So it's so important in the French economy that sometimes in exports, normally it's the second most important product of exports, and sometimes we make as much money with the wine and with the spirits, the cognac, than with the aeroplanes. Okay, because France it's also well known by the military planes and the civil planes like Airbus, Rafale, Mirage, etc. So this is very, very important. And if you want to taste some French wines, I will recommend you some blends. It could be the Bordeaux wine. The Bordeaux, the red Bordeaux, it's mainly Cabernet, Sauvignon, and Merlot. The white Bordeaux is Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon. Okay, if you go to Bourgogne, you will find varieties like Pinot Noir, for the white Chardonnay, and then you can also find in Provence other styles of wine, other varieties like Grenache, Syrah, etc. So these are some famous French wine blends that I recommend you to taste because they are all different. Okay, and I think we are just on time. And before answer your questions, because I believe you have questions, I would like to say again to all of you, particularly to organization, thank you very much for this invitation. It was a pleasure, and I hope you have questions because I'm happy to answer. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Guillaume, to sharing a lot of knowledge about the why with us today, and I gained a lot from you. So, anyone in the group have the questions?
Mm-hmm.
So not just, so we will start from the questions in the live in the chat box first. So they have the questions like so like you say that they have the many criteria for wine. So they have someone's asking that if we mentions about good wine, so you can like suggest that when you sip or drink some wine, what it should be like the top notes or anything that can be considerations as is good wine, or depend on the consumer taste.
Mm-hmm. It depends also in the consumer taste, but first it should not have defaults. Okay, so like the defaults that I spoke about, let me go again to the defaults, some common defaults like these ones. First, a good wine cannot have these smells. Okay, and then something that is highly appreciated in the wine is to have these three kind of aromas: the varietal aromas like the fruity, the fermentative, and then the aging. like coconut or oak or wood. And if you have these three kind of aroma, so, but some of them, we can use it for the both things, for eat and to make wine, okay? So for the wine grapes, they are normally much more smaller than table grapes, okay? And the skin is very thick, okay? So as eat as fresh fruit is not so pleasant as the big grapes, okay?
Okay.
This is the first thing. Then the table grapes, they have big pulp and they have a small skin, and they have less sugar. They are less concentrated in the aromas, and the wine, they will be much more lighter, okay? But there are some varieties that you can make both and others you cannot, okay? I'm going to give an example. The Muscat of Alexandrie, Muscat Alexandrie. This grape variety you can use for wine and can use for eat, okay? But the main reasons that we separe them is that wine grapes are small, thick skin. They are not so good for it. And the other ones, they are big and pulp and they are very pleasant to eat, okay?
Okay, so now we know the different one. So they had one question is about Thailand. So they say that the Thai food is very spicy, and now it's had many person will be eat with Thai food with wine. So what is if we talking about food comparing, in your ideas as you taste Thai food, right? It's too.
Yes, of
So
course.
do you think a Swiss one is like very good to comparing together?
Well, I do think, and there are people who wrote about that. Okay, there are people who wrote about pairing Thai cuisine in wine, and the good thing of Thai food is very rich and very diverse. So you can combine with both, with white and red wines and rosé even, and with a lot of different types of wine. But in general, Thai food goes very well with wine. That's why Thailand imports a lot of wine, because people who like gastronomy, they are seeing that it goes very well one with another. Okay.
I see. So you used to mention that when you come here, you're gonna go to visit the Thai vineyards, and you used to taste it. So I would like to know that they had some. Not just in Thailand. I mean the Asia wine. You know, it's a
Yes.
difference from Western wine or something.
Well, in Asia, the biggest wine producer is China. Okay, China is a huge country, so they have a lot of different conditions, and there are some places where they are making a very good wine. Okay, so because they have a very cold winter also. Okay, and that's important to have good quality grapes. In Asia, I visit also Japan, and Japan have also great wines,
Yeah.
and they are making it since long time ago, and they are improving a lot the quality. They are expensive because everything is expensive in Japan. Is like this, and then, but what really surprised me, it was the Thai wine from Grand Mount, because in Thailand you have a tropical climate, but in that place the wine was very good, and it was done. It's done with the French varieties. Okay, French grapes cultivated there. So I strongly recommend you to taste it, because you're gonna for sure like it. Okay, they have whites and they have reds, and yeah, that proves that Asia can make very good wines.
Okay, so I think we have the last question here. A lot of them. So they're asking that you mentioned in your slide that is the aroma of wine come from tea source. First is from grape, right? From raw materials, and from fermentations, and from the aging period. So they're asking on which one had the much more influence for the aromas of the wine the most in your ideas?
Wow, what a nice question, and difficult to answer. Okay, so that's depend on how you manage your fermentation. Okay, you can play with the temperature, we can play with the aeration, you can play with the different things. If you want primary aromas, you're going to choose a way to make the wine. Okay, if you want to have more aging aromas, you're going to let your wine more time in barrels. Okay, so you can in a way change the aromas of the wines according with the way to do it. But what I think is important for a quality wine, it's to have this also fruity aroma, because if it smells only oak, only barrel, it's no good. Okay, so you have to have a balance. I really appreciate fruitiness in the wine. Okay.
Okay, so I think that everyone that's asked the question had got a lot of answer from Dr. Guillaume for today's, and I think now is this time, and I think we have the questions inside for that. So thank you very much for Dr. Guillaume to join us there. But you be with us first, don't
Okay.
go first. So and today someone who attend the class. So we also had attendance certificate for the participant for today. So as my staff, you should share the screen, please. Okay. Okay. So for the e-certificate, so everyone can be the scan in the QR codes, and we also sending of the link for scanning of the certificate too. For this time, we had the very good of the speakers, and for the next time doing this, we also had don't stop with just only wine, and we go to the foods. For the next webinar, we will go to please. So next time this time we go to France in Europe. So next time we will go to South America in Brazil. That's the Dr. Catherine will be talking about food additive and Brazilian fruit. If you are interested, so you can be joining, and the certificate also providing. And we are on like a very late afternoon because the time is very different in Americas and in here. So we got to try a fix of time together. So thank you very much everyone to join with us today, and we hope like the knowledge today will be useful for you to use in the future about why. So thank you very much, and thank you for the speaker today, Dr. Guillaume, to join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you, and it was a pleasure. And I'm gonna send my slides. If you have other questions, feel free to send me an email. I really appreciate. Okay, and hope to see you one day in Thailand. Okay.
Okay. So Dr. Guillaume, not leave yet. I have something to talk to you.
Yes,
so
yes.
People in here, and I forgot the important moments. Could you like to take a photo together?
Of course, of course. Let's go for it.
Okay, so everyone is like, if you have time to open the camera, please, so we can take a photo together. So this time, so I think like someone looking good and someone is very formal one. Okay, so all right. So everyone is smiling. So we had the tea shot together. So we have 1, 2, 3, and just only 2 or 3 left. So, okay, everyone smiling. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, another shot, please. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you very much to join with us today, and I hope you will enjoy with the class of today and much more good sip of wine in the future. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.
Bye
Bye bye. Bye bye.
So Dr. Guillaume, I have in September, do you still available? So
yes.
we still have webinar